If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this super awesome episode of the Mind Pump,
Extra awesome.
we talk about fitness, building muscle, burning body fat, and we talk about current events and fun stuff. Here's what we talked about in the first 42 minutes introductory portion of this episode. We talked about disciplining children and how we were disciplined versus how we're going to discipline our kids. I'm not going to use the old school Sicilian wooden spoon.
No thrown shoes?
No, none of that stuff. That was used on me.
Yeah.
We talked about Four Sigmatic's huge sale that they're doing on their mushroom coffee. Now, they have coffee that is infused with medicinal mushrooms that provide additional benefits to the caffeine. So if you like the caffeine buzz, but you want to enhance it, you should try the Four Sigmatic coffee. Well, check this out. It is 25% off right now, and we have an additional 15% off when you use the code MINDPUMP. For the special discount on Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee, make sure you click on the link in the show notes on our website. Then we talk about the women's U.S. soccer team training cycle. Apparently, they were training around their menstrual cycles and taking the workouts and maximizing them based on their hormones. I talked about the Department of Defense possibly weaponizing insects from 1950 to
terrified the hell out of
1972. Conspiracy theory time. We went into more conspiracy theories after that. Then we talked about the Face Swap app that everybody downloaded. Guess what? The Russians own it.
Yeah.
Good job.
There we go.
We talked about Netflix losing subscribers. Looks like competition is heating up. I talked about Berkeley spending well-earned taxpayer dollars on changing the name of Manholes to something else. You have to listen to the episode to find out. And then we get to the fitness portion of this episode. First question was, can you activate a muscle by flexing it before compound lift? So if you're one of those people that can't feel a muscle that you're trying to work on a compound lift, does flexing it beforehand help? The next question, this person wants to know the difference in both physical differences and cognitive differences between open chain and closed chain movement. So an example of a closed chain movement would be a push-up, and the counterpart, open chain version, would be a bench press. What are the differences in muscle building, fat loss, and in performance? Next question, this person wants to know if it's normal for their joints to hurt after they work out. This person's knees and shoulders tend to hurt the day after they work out. Is that normal? Is that something that we should all experience? Or are there things they can do to prevent that, like solve the root cause maybe?
Yes.
And the final question, this person wants to know what our thoughts are on Peloton and VR-compatible fitness-type products. So we talk all about the technology and our predictions as to whether or not this is going to blow up even more or fizzle out like a lot of
Sal
fitness
brings up porn again.
That's again. Thanks, Justin. Also, this month, Maps Anywhere, our no equipment needed workout plan, it's an entire plan that requires no gym access, is 50% off. Here's what you do for the discount. Just go to mapswhite.com, that's MAPSWHITE.com, and use the code ANYWHERE50, that's ANYWHERE50, no space, for the discount. Make sure you take advantage now because this promotion will not be back for a very long time.
It's gone forever. Let's start out talking like Valley Girls.
Valley Girls.
Oh my God.
That is totally cool,
Where is
Justin.
it?
Where are we right now?
Did Valley Girls originate from the Bay, like from California?
LA.
Like,
LA.
I don't
It is.
know.
Yeah,
So LA Valley.
LA is considered the Valley.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Do people still
That's my
talk like
favorite.
that?
Yeah.
Like
anyway.
to
Oh, it's annoying.
Yeah.
So annoying. Just wait till we have teenage girls. Oh, none of you guys are going to have. I'm the only one.
You're,
Doug and I are the only
You're the
one.
one blessed. Yeah, you and Doug.
Doug's already got it happening now, man.
Yeah. You know what, though? We're the only ones that are going to have kids that are going to take care of us when we're old.
Wow.
So whatever. That's what girls do for their parents.
Wow.
That's the stereotype,
that is
at least.
That's just it's a stereotype. Because I think I'm that guy for our family.
Are you?
Yeah. Pretty sure the responsibility to take care of my mom.
No,
is on me.
my family's always like, you have to have a girl because they're the ones that take care of you when you get older. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Dad?
Hello.
Yeah.
I love people too.
And he's like, I'm not dad. Huh?
Do you feel like that in your family? I feel like you would be the guy who takes care of your parents.
I don't know. I mean, I would, sure, if they needed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, do you?
They have
I'll
4
probably
kids.
end up
There's
being
4
the
of
guy.
us though.
Well, I know,
There's 4 kids.
but when you look at the 4, is it like I feel like your brother's least likely.
I'm probably the most capable at this point.
Right.
See, it's a proximity thing for me. Like I'm closer. My brother like did the move where he like is far away.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I would love to help, but I
Oh,
can't.
totally. I can't be there.
I just feel like guys are more
Oh,
likely
sure.
to be like, yeah, I'll take care of your mom and dad.
Throw 'em in a home.
I just put a down payment on. Yeah. Whereas girls like, come live with us. You just
That
come-
is a guy move, dude. Oh yeah, retirement home.
Plus, I don't.
There you go.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if my mom would want to. Like, if my mom had to choose between moving in with me and moving in with my sisters, I don't know if she'd choose me because she would probably think to herself like, I'm just gonna have to like clean up after.
Oh, now I have to do everything for
I
you.
gotta
I'm
cook
too
dinner.
old for this.
Exactly. So she probably would.
Now, do you have is this true for you? I know Justin, I think, can probably relate to me on this one. Like, there's only how many days can you be with like your parents, like in a row? Can you go for weeks and no big deal and like you enjoy?
Oh, before I get annoyed?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's. I don't know. I can always hang out with them.
I'm gonna say 5 days max.
Oh, you
Really?
can make 5 days. That's
Maybe.
that's pretty solid.
Maybe.
That's a pretty solid because there's not very many trips where you probably have to be anywhere with your family or your parents.
Well, that's only when we actually vacation. We've vacationed with them a few times, but usually it's like they have their own, thing over there, and then we have our own thing over here.
I would think it would be even more challenging when you have kids, right? So, like, I've thought a lot about this. Like, yeah, it's not that. I have a couple days. That's about it. That's my peak where I'm like, okay, it's
2
time.
days.
Yeah, it's about
2
right,
days.
right? But I haven't thought about it until now that I have kids. Like, because and I've got family around all the time now, and of course, everybody has their opinion on how you should do everything like that, and I'm not used to that, and so it's like it's interesting. Like what that's going to be like, as he starts to grow, and I have to make harder and harder decisions for him, or disciplining our way, or what. Like, how much will my
Oh, and it's surprising too. I think for me, I was surprised how helpful my parents were. Like more so than I would even anticipate.
That's how I'm feeling right now. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that, and you guys know me, I've openly talked about one of the challenges that Katrina and I had in the relationship was the family stuff. Like, it's just, there's so much of it. It's like just they get together always. I mean, everybody's actually at my house right now. So, and there's always an event, or there's always a reason for the entire family to get together. And it was always challenging for me. But I have to say, and I thought like, oh God, here we go. I'm going to have the son, and then everyone's going to be at the house, and I'm going to get annoyed. And I have not been annoyed at all. It's been amazing. It's been incredible to have the support of especially her family. My family too, though. I mean, my sister was amazing having my sister with us.
Having kids tends to change the relationship, or at least your perspective on family. Like, people will move away from their family when they kind of, become independent. Like, if they grew up in one city, they want to move out or move away, I should say. And then when they have kids, they tend to want to live near family. So it just changes perspective.
Oh, it makes sense because when I think now too, like when Katrina goes back to work and I'm back to working full time, like, I'd much rather him be in the hands of a grandma or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin opposed to a daycare. So if I have that option, and I know some families don't. I know that some people are in a situation where they don't live near family, and because we do. That I definitely see the value in that.
Now, here's a question for you. Are you going to be a spanking? Like, are you going to do the spanking for punishments at times?
I subscribe to the Jordan Peterson type of mentality as far as how that I think there's a lot of value in spanking. Now, I don't think it's good to I won't be the father who my son does something while I'm at work, and then when I come home, he's in his room waiting to get beat by me, like I was. Like that was something that I grew up with, and I turned out fine. But I do see value in, as he's in these younger years of getting ready to touch something that's hot or do something that's and catching him in the moment and whacking him on the butt and saying no, and catching him like that,
like a correction.
Yes. So I will be someone like that that uses that.
Now, who else is allowed? So here's a good question. Who else is allowed
Man,
to
you're
spank?
going for the deep questions.
It's
here.
a tough one.
I know
Nobody.
it is tough.
Nobody.
Not even
Yeah,
not mom, not sister.
Oh, my mom.
not-
Of course,
Agreed.
Katrina.
That's
my mom. That was
Katrina and I. Nobody
Okay.
else. Nobody else.
So
Nobody
not
else.
sister, not mom, not
No, you're
no one.
as a sister and cousins and grandparents. You're there to love him and support him.
Now they can punish if they're watching them, but just no spanking.
Yeah. No, I'll be the one to make, because I want to be the one who makes that judgment call on was it warranted or not, and I don't want to have to go back and undo anything or correct what I think that they made a misjudgment on. So better them not do it, and I'll handle any sort of spanking, because again, I see it.
My family, I grew up, all older relatives could spank me. Yeah. If you're a relative,
it's all fair game.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. My grandparents could, my aunts and uncles could. The older cousins couldn't, depending on how much older. If they were a lot older, they could. So it was like if they were relatives and they were older, they could give us.
Yeah, I grew up the same way. Open season on my ass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there was a lot of that.
There was like there was a fucking wooden spoon that hung in the kitchen
Uncles,
that was for spanking. Like you just grab that. He's acting up. You grab that. Whoop the shit out of him with that. Yeah. Trust me, he'll stop.
Well, back in the day, that was culturally that's what it was. Teachers used to spank. Yeah. You know, and if you were an adult and a kid acted up, and you know, if you were especially in a position of authority, you were encouraged, like, spank the kid. And nobody's allowed to touch my kids. I think I've spanked my kids a grand total of 2 times, to be honest with you. Yeah. And it's very difficult. That's the thing I did not realize, is that when I had them and I did spank them a couple times, I didn't realize how terrible it would feel. It was horrible. Still to this day, it still sticks with me and it was like a little spank on the butt that scared him or whatever.
Yeah, I think for shock and awe purposes, I don't know how many times those moments will happen. I doubt there's going to be many of those, but when that comes, I think I will. But if he does something like at school and he comes home, like, I won't spank him. That'll be a talk. Like, we'll talk about that. Like, I'll sit down.
Been a handful of moments, and it really is just about the noise and the psychology going into it. Like, you know, I usually what I've done with it when there's moments like that, I'll wait. I'll have them go in their room and wait, and like make them wait like extra long. So it's like they
terrify,
fear it, you know. And then I get down there,
and I really loud steps in the hallway.
Yes, it's all that stuff with like very little tap. Yeah. You know, it's like the spank is like they're just like already crying before I even get to it.
Yeah,
and so. You know, everybody has their own style, but that's my style.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Old school Italian moms, holy, like my mom, I don't know how she was able to do this, but her accuracy with her shoe was Olympic level. Like insane. I'm not even lying.
Wow.
My brother especially.
It's like the Eddie Murphy stand-up.
Oh, dude. Like, and I'm not even, like, my brother was I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He's a good person. Okay, he grew up to be a great person. Terrible kid though. Terrible kid. Used to break shit, hit his sisters, just always got into shit. Climbed the outside of the stairs once when he was little, was hanging by his fingertips. We caught him, barely almost killed himself. Just terrible, you know, broke things or whatever. And so she would go grocery shopping with us, and there were, you know, 4 of us, right? So my youngest sister was the baby. Me and my sister were older, and then my younger brother. And she, you know, if you've ever gone grocery shopping or done anything with kids, you know how much more difficult it could be, especially when they're mobile. Imagine 4 kids. So we would be grocery shopping. My brother would fucking run down the aisles, just knocking shit off the shelf, just, or he'd like run up to someone and push them just randomly. So one time my mom lost her shit. She took her shoe off and she flung it across the grocery store and hit him in the butt. He's like, ah, and everybody looked at my mom like she was just terrible. So, and I remember as a kid thinking, like, is she going to throw the shoe at those people too? I was like, they better chill because my mom will fucking
watch out. So crazy. She'll do it.
Hilarious story. So this just happened this last weekend. I had my buddy Justin and Janet over. They have the 1 year, 3-month-old son, Hunter, who you've seen me post on my Instagram before. Love that. I'm the godfather. Love that kid. And he's now learning words. Like, so he's starting to piece a couple words together and stuff. And Justin always, whenever he, like, Hunter comes over and like hits him with a toy or that, just ouch, ouch. He makes a big deal of it. So one of the words he's learned is ouch. And then last weekend they're in the grocery store and they're walking and he just out of nowhere goes, ouch. And like everyone turned around and looked at him like they were bad
shocked.
Yeah. They said their like face turned like ghost white, like the little shit.
Somebody's on the phone, CPS.
Yeah. They said it was the most awkward feeling ever because their son out of nowhere decides to yell ouch and people turn around like right away or looking at him like, what are you doing? Your kid in the grocery store.
Bro, you'll sit there and try and teach your kid a word. Just try as hard as you can. They won't do it. You'll say fuck one time.
Yes.
And that's their new word.
Okay.
Or whatever. My buddy's friend, my friend's kid the first thing he ever said was "fuck yeah," and that's all he said afterwards. Everything. Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. And people were like, and they're like, don't laugh, don't react to it. And I was like, you can't
So
even laugh.
they love it.
You see a 2-year-old saying "fuck yeah," that's the funniest thing you heard in your life.
Dude, just wait. So Ethan, I believe my oldest, we were at like what's that sandwich place, Panera Bread?
Yeah.
And we're going up to order something in line, and there was this like really like morbidly obese lady there, and like he just realized, like he just figured out, like I think he was like 2 or maybe even I think he was like 2, and he just like had to point out that she was fat and like tell us about it. Like right when we're standing there ready to order, like, you're fat. Did you know that? I'm like, just turned ghost white. I did not know how to react to that. I was like, he's, I don't know. And then I just left. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, fuck it, I'm not getting my order. We're going to Togo's
I'm like,
now.
Gonna spit at it. I'm not staying here.
And then you combine the two. You're fat. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Let's leave. Yeah. Let's get out of here.
Yikes.
Anyway, I wanted to mention this. I want to not forget to mention this on the podcast because for Sigmatic, who's one of our sponsors, they do the supplements that are all mushroom based. They picked us out of only a couple other podcasts. I think it was us and a couple more to offer this particular discount. So they have they're putting
so only the good ones.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, right? Feels kind of good, right?
Yeah.
So it's 25% off. There's 4 Sigmatic coffee plus our additional 15% off. So you can get 40% off of their 4 Sigmatic coffee, which is their coffee blend with the mushrooms. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's the
one of their most popular products.
Yeah, and who was it? Was it you, Adam, or you, Justin?
No, I like the coffee.
Yeah,
that was you.
Yeah, because I'll mix it with regular coffee.
Yeah.
So it does do well with that. So if you already like coffee, and I kind of doctor my coffee up a little bit with cream, and then I throw that in there, that I like.
Yeah, so it's got the mushrooms offset the caffeine, or I should say augment the caffeine to give you kind of that clean energy buzz, which for if you don't like the shakiness that caffeine can provide, it's a good thing to kind of take the edge off. So it makes it more focused.
I also heard Rachel say, I thought I heard her tell you too, that if you do like their bundle or what like that you get the free shipping too. So you can get 40% off plus in addition to that if they buy a bundle.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge blowout sale.
Yeah.
So, and I feel honored that we're one of the first one, the only podcast that they gave that to.
They love you.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
Thanks for recognizing.
They send me free cordyceps all the time. I love it. I use it all the time.
Did you guys see the article on the women's U.S. soccer team? They won and everything.
Oh, they're bad, dude. They are such
champions.
badasses.
I love watching.
Badasses.
So they actually trained around their menstrual cycle. They actually, the coach, I believe it's the coach or the trainer, one of them actually found out all their menstrual cycles, and then they would adjust.
Did they all line up? Did they all line up and have like the
that
same
I don't
cycle?
know. That I don't know if they did, because that Sal dispelled that myth. That I thought was true. I thought that was true, that when you get a bunch,
but that does happen sometimes.
Well, so evolutionarily speaking, you can make an argument for it, right? Because you would want all the women in the
just
tribe.
Coincidence, though, right?
Well, yeah. So it's like, you ever been parked behind someone who has their left blinker on, and you put your left blinker on, and theirs is faster than yours
simultaneously.
Even though
syncs up eventually.
Yeah, it starts to sync up eventually if you give enough time, and that's when people tend to pay attention, when things all match or whatever. But anyway, so how did they change their workors?
I don't know. They adjust the intensity based off of it. So knowing like where they're at in their cycle on like how intense they should be training based off that. So based their and recovery and shit. So they adjusted.
Makes perfect sense.
Interesting.
I thought that was.
It makes perfect sense if you look at the a woman's natural cycle, where with the progesterone and estrogen rising and dropping, it makes sense to. Now, at the end of the day, you have to also listen to the person, right? But that definitely makes sense to adjust intensity, train harder when hormones are in position to provide better results when they're harder, to lay off the intensity when maybe inflammation's up a little higher because of hormones. Makes perfect sense.
I see us getting better, like overall in terms of programming, like figuring out how like to add the right dose of stress. Like people are really learning how to, manage stress a little bit more effectively. I think too, these like wearables and tools have really helped kind of enhance that as well.
Well, I feel like we're just barely figuring that out, the importance of adjusting intensity. I think it was like believed for a long time that more is better, and just the harder you get after it, the more results you get. I think that's slowly being dispelled, and more people are realizing the importance of adjusting intensity.
The breakthrough will be when we have an accurate way of in real time measuring that for each individual, because like we're talking about women and their hormone fluctuations, what trumps that always is their own individual energy levels and how they feel, because your hormones maybe they're supposed to be in this ideal situation for whatever type of training. Maybe you're at day 15 of your cycle and whatever, but maybe you feel like shit, or maybe the workout before affected you a certain way, or your sleep was off, or whatever. Then that's what you need to listen to. So so when they have something that can measure that like real time, that'll be crazy.
Do you remember when we talked to Dr. Andy Galpin about this too, where he was making the argument too, though, that there's some value in when it isn't most ideal for you to stress yourself like that occasionally. Do you remember that?
When it's not ideal?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. Yeah, like yesterday I trained and I had a phenomenal workout and I almost stayed home because I probably should have, because I didn't get really good rest. I was kind of groggy. I wasn't in a caloric surplus.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I was like, you know what? I was like, I haven't done this in a long time. I took a pre-workout, right? So I added even more probably stress that I didn't need to get through it, because for me, it was like, okay, I need to get back into my consistency. And I ended up having this phenomenal workout. Now, I'm smart enough to know that if I was having back-to-back-to-back days like that, most certainly would not be ideal.
Yeah. Right.
But there's got to be some sort of value in the occasional stress,
infrequently,
like that. Yeah, doing that to the body.
Well, and I believe the same thing with like being sleep deprived. Yeah, on some level, like it might actually help. In terms of like stretching you out.
That's I was in that sense, right?
Well, because you're healthy, you're a healthy person. You know how to eat right. You know how to train, and 9 out of 10 times you listen to your body. You've been doing this long enough. What happens when you're sleep deprived or stressed is cortisol is higher, and cortisol is an energy hormone. And that's happened to me many times, where sometimes I work out and I go into the gym to go after it when I'm tired or when I'm under a certain amount of stress. And I find that I'm stronger and I have more energy. Now, if you push it too hard, that'll cause problems.
And doing it consistently.
Right, but that's what cortisol does, and that's why cortisol is addicting. Yeah. That's why you have all these people that push their body over and over again, because they get that buzz and that good feeling. I did the day, literally, it was either the day after or it was like a couple days after my ex-wife and I decided, like, for sure we're getting a divorce. Very stressful time. I hit a PR in deadlift. I'll never forget. I went to the gym and I was lifting, which was, it just bolstered my confidence. Like, I made the right decision, whatever. But I am powerful. Yeah.
That bitch.
Yeah. All that
this is a sign.
That weight off my shoulders.
Oh my God.
No, but looking back, I know what it was. It was that my cortisol was high. I was stressed, and cortisol is a stress energy producing hormone. That's why we get it when we get stressed out, because it releases energy. Now, if you're constantly exposed to it, fucks you up.
That's why I think like most people like shouldn't even be concerned with that, because the battle is to fight that already. You're already constantly like fighting that, being sleep deprived, being like overly stressed to begin with. So anyway.
So do you guys want to hear something really crazy? You're gonna fucking love this shit. So the U.S. House of Representatives approved a 2020 defense bill, right? So they're gonna approve. This is what you're gonna, and they do this every year. This is we're gonna approve the amount of money we're gonna spend on defense. But they added an amendment to it, and the amendment says if it's forcing the government to reveal whether or not they weaponized ticks and other insects between 1950 and 1975.
Oh my God!
And then release them into the wild.
What?
That's right. So they did find that the military did conduct experiments with ticks and insects where they weaponized them, but they are saying to them now, listen, before you get your budget, we want to see, did you guys, and we want to see all the evidence and all the records.
Can they trace Lyme? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can they trace Lyme disease all the way back to that one island that they found in the East Coast?
Oh, I don't know. But imagine if they came back and they're like, yeah, we weaponized them and then we released some of these motherfuckers into the wild.
Dude,
this is crazy.
You're getting my conspiracy like cackles up.
Right? Now by
your antenna.
By weaponized, I'm assuming you mean like they put some sort of toxin in them that would cause some sort of either disease or sickness that you would get if they were to bite you or something, that like they didn't like strap on M16s on there. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah.
Little,
ow! Like Ant-Man is going through my head right now. You know what I'm saying?
We designed.
Oh my God!
Super microscopic guns. What's your plan over there? Brad. Okay, I got an idea. So we're gonna take out the Soviet Union. We make small guns.
Never make Brad in charge.
Yeah. No, but fucking crazy, right? So they actually added this amendment, and it says in it, like, if you want your money, you're going to let us know if this shit was released out in the wild. If you guys weaponize these fuckers and put them out in the wild. And could you imagine if they did? Now, here's the thing. Here's what I always say. It's like
that's a horrible thought.
It's like imagine
needle in the haystack.
No, not even that. Imagine getting a bunch of people and being like, okay, everybody, you tell us if you broke the law or not, okay? You guys admit it, did you? No. Okay, no problem. Here's your money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we want you to investigate yourself.
No.
So my prediction is this. The report's going to come back and they'll be like, yeah, we didn't do anything wrong. That's what's going to come back.
Yeah.
Who's going to, you know what I'm saying?
Or wasted tax dollars.
Yeah, anyway. But crazy, though, nonetheless.
That's scary.
To know that they actually work. And that's the thing with during the Cold War, because the world, literally the whole world was at risk. You had two superpowers with more nukes, than we knew what to do with, pointed at each other, ready to be launched. So, of course, imagine if you're in charge of the defense of the country. We're sitting in this room and we're like, look, here's the deal. If there's a nuclear war, everybody's extinct.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that doesn't sound crazy. You know what I mean? Nothing sounds crazy. Like someone can be like, hey, you know what we need to do? We need to make a virus that kills everybody. And you're going to be like, you know what? That sounds like a good idea because, fuck, I don't know what we're going to, you know what I'm saying?
Can you look up, Doug, maybe that island on the East Coast? I swear there's been all these like crazy conspiracies that came out of like all these biological type weapons and things that they've been messing around with, viruses, all these things that are all like centered around this one place. And it's like you look at you trace back like Lyme disease, and you could trace it all the way back like from the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's just like all these like random things came out of there. That
Plum Island.
Yeah.
Plum Island.
Sounds about right.
Fringe conspiracy theory.
Or government cover-up. You know what sucks is when conspiracy theories turn out to be kind of like true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's when it does suck. Then you're like, okay, these crazy people are onto something.
Yeah. Well, you know why it sucks? Because then you start to believe all the crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
it's hard to sift through them at that point. You know, it's like,
totally.
Yeah. Because then, do we land on the moon?
Yeah. No, the worst one that I heard a long time ago, which actually turned out to be true, was that all the Joint Chiefs of Staffs also even signed off on this. Okay. It was the president that actually declined to do this. I think it was Kennedy, if I'm not mistaken. But this was during the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we have Cuba over there, and the Soviets are, putting missiles over there, so it's in our backyard or whatever. And the plan was, and it was Operation Northwood. And by the way, this is a real
that's been proven
deal plan. It was
didn't they make a movie or a documentary over that?
I don't know, but it was a real plan signed off again by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And the plan was to stage a terrorist attack in Miami and blame Cuban terrorists to gain public support to invade Cuba. Because we wanted to invade Cuba, we need public support. How are we going to get it? Oh, they attacked us, and we were the ones that were
ourselves,
and then blame it on them.
Oh my God!
Right
now, imagine reading this shit after September 11th. That just fueled the fuck out of that whole thing.
And then you wonder why people's first thought is like, maybe there was like some shenanigans involved.
Oh, crazy!
It's just
right?
Like it's tough because it's like you don't want to believe it, but then you see something like that where you're like, what? Like that's even a thought process that our government has.
Now here's what always. Now it didn't happen, of course.
Right.
And again, remember at that time everything was on the table because of the danger of everything. But here's the way I look at it. When I look at these big conspiracy theories, I always think to myself like, the government can barely run the DMV. I don't know how the hell they plan some of these elaborate, you know what I'm saying? Like these elaborate.
But they got off with the Manhattan Project.
What's that?
You know what I mean?
What's that?
Oh, that was like when they were building the atomic bomb.
Yeah, that's how we created the first atomic bomb.
And so what they did is they made sure like only this one department was in charge of like a certain component, and so they didn't like share information, and they made sure like you didn't know the whole piece to the story.
Yeah, well, I mean they did, but then of course somebody got in and freaking stole the whole thing and took it to
I get why you guys like Stranger Things so
Right.
much. It makes sense now that I'm watching it. I'm like all the conspiracy of that.
Oh, it's so good.
Right. I can't believe you guys didn't bring this up to me when you guys were going through, because I'm on season 2 right now. I know 3 just came out, and Kai Green's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not remember that?
Yeah, he was a bad guy.
I don't even remember that.
He's part of the. Okay, you remember when she finds her sister, number 8, right? 8. She's running with like a little crew, and they rob banks and
That's right.
whatever like that. He's part of that crew.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about season 2.
Forgot about season 2. I know, dude. I'm like still in season 3.
I know, but I'm like, when you guys used to talk about Stranger Things when you guys were all into it, and I'm like, I can't. I'm watching it, and it comes up, and I'm like, Kai Green's in this.
I remember that. Yeah.
I did not even know. I knew that he
forgot to bring that up.
I knew he was talking about trying to get into the movies. I didn't know he was already in a flick. That's crazy,
dude. Speaking of Kai Green, Shawn Rhoden not allowed to compete in the. He won the Olympia last year, right? He was Mr. Olympia. Dethroned Phil Heath or whatever.
Right.
They're not letting him compete this year.
Huh? Why?
You didn't know about this?
No.
Oh, I love it when I bring up some shit. So, because he's getting taken to I think he's getting taken to court because a woman is saying he raped her.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Apparently, now he hasn't been proven, guilty. They haven't gone to court or all that, but they said because he got accused and because he's going to be going to court.
See, how do you guys feel about that? Like we supposedly come from this, you're innocent till proven guilty, but you see a lot of situations like this that as soon as it's been said, like, and I'm not defending the guy because I have no idea whether he did or he didn't, and it's terrible if he did.
That's a loaded question because this is one of those things now that where you see like people they just like want to like crucify someone before they even get all the facts. Like you see that happen a lot, and it's tough.
We also live in a time now where even if it comes out, it was totally bullshit. You're fucked.
Yeah.
It's already
something like that.
Because
sometimes it does. It's not often, but sometimes it does come back. There was one guy who got released out of prison. He was in jail for 10 years because it got discovered that the woman who accused him lied.
Yeah,
she made it all up, and then she admitted it, and then he got released 10 years later. How fucked up is that? But here's the thing.
Yeah, it's a can of worms to talk about for sure.
Yeah, you're 100% right that we live in a time now where you're guilty until proven innocent now, rather than innocent until proven guilty. And that's exactly why they won't let him compete. Because if they let him compete, now they're bad. Now they're the ones getting all the heat. And they're a private money-making organization. And I understand. They don't want that kind of heat on them. You know what I mean? They want to look like, okay, we're gonna step back.
Wow, when did this get announced? I can't believe I didn't see
this. This was like maybe a couple weeks ago. A week ago. Mm-hmm.
And for sure, he's not allowed to come back and compete.
Not this year, no.
Wow.
So it opens it up for Phil. There it is. See, he was charged with rape, and so his eligibility was revoked.
Wow.
So they're just investigating it right now.
Yeah, he's been charged. He hasn't been proven yet. Proven one way or another. So now it's open, right? Phil Heath, and some people are thinking Kai Green might come back in, and it might be like Kai Green versus Phil Heath.
Oh, interesting. Didn't Hani move on from Phil, or is he still coaching Phil? I thought I saw him pick up somebody else. I don't follow those guys enough anymore because I'm not in that world anymore. But I could have sworn after.
I definitely don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't know.
I have no idea.
I doubt you.
I'm not up on my Hani.
You probably don't even follow any of his accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's got Hottie, right? So that's one of his guys. And then I thought he did, because Hottie is the 210, right? Isn't that what?
I think so.
Right. So he's got Hottie, and then I think he got somebody else. But I guess I still see him here with Phil Heath, so maybe he is still with Phil.
I have no idea. Speaking of conspiracy theories, do you guys know that face swap app that we used?
Yes.
It was awesome, right? Great app or whatever.
Oh, they did a great job with it.
Apparently, it's a Russian-owned company. And did you guys read the disclaimer on it?
Of course not.
Of course, nobody does.
Nobody does.
Apparently, in the disclaimer,
they get to take all your photos.
They get to go into all your photos and everything in your phone, not just the ones you change, but everything that's in your phone.
Oh wow!
And they have rights to use them for whatever they want, whenever they want, forever.
Wow,
that's so
cool.
Yeah.
Good job, Russians.
Yeah, but now here's the deal. Here's what a lot of people are saying. They're probably not going to do necessarily anything with your photos other than use them. Other than use them to bolster or strengthen or work on their AI face recognition technology. Because now what they can do is cross-reference those photos. Now they have like 400 photos of your face. They can cross-reference that with your Facebook.
Everybody with that.
Yeah.
Like at least all the people that are like live on Instagram and are like influencers, like everybody.
150 million people downloaded it.
Oh my God.
150 million.
Wow. Yeah, but it's a Russian-owned company, and everybody's like, I deleted it, but
see, I always find
it's
it
too late.
I'm more interested. It's funny that stuff. I'm like, whatever about it. I think it's more interesting to me that like something that someone creates gets 150 million people like overnight.
Yeah,
like,
well, they did such a good job. It was like, I mean, it was believable when you went to the old filter. You're just like, it was trippy how like well that they crafted that.
Well, this is shame on us. I'm mad. I'm definitely pissed off. I'm not mad at the company. My fault. I should have read it. I should have looked into it, and I should have understood that. Because the thing is this.
It's too late now. I can't put it back.
I mean, we're public personas. We have a podcast. I have Instagram. You don't need to go on my personal photos to do whatever you want with my face. You could do that anyway. And I don't own the photos I put on Instagram either. Those are public, so whatever. But I have photos of family members and kids and my children. And I purposely, my own personal decision, I don't post public pictures of my kids, but they have access now to all the photos that were on my phone, and that's my own fault.
Disturbing.
Yeah, because I didn't read the freaking fine print.
And in the era of deep fakes and all that kind of stuff, it's going to get so weird in a couple of years, especially now. You could tell, I mean, they've already been trying to influence our culture by like adding all these fake accounts and messing with certain groups of, like people that are, out there picketing and trying to like, it's crazy what they've already been up to.
It is, so, but you want to hear another conspiracy now?
Lay it on me.
Oh, Justin,
put my tinfoil hat on today.
Justin love these. So that guy Jeffrey Epstein who got now he got arrested for child like sex trafficking or whatever, and that whole deal. I don't want to go all into it, but he's a disgusting human being, and he got off real easy a while ago. They're bringing him back in. Apparently, he's connected to like the richest, most powerful people in the world, politicians, celebrities. He has that one island he would fly people to, and apparently he had underage sex workers there. And so there's conspiracies that he would film them doing things with these underage sex workers and use as blackmail or whatever. Yeah. So here's the other conspiracy. The other conspiracy is that they've been preparing us with these deep fakes so that when the videos surface of celebrities and politicians doing shit, that they can use that as a defense and be like, oh, that's not me. Oh, so like they've been setting us up the whole time because they knew, oh shit, this fucking lid's gonna get blown off.
Right.
And I'm talking like the most powerful like Bill Clinton was chartered on his private plane to his private island something like 26 times, and many of which were without the Secret Service, where Bill literally said, "No, you guys stay behind. I'm gonna go by myself," which is very. That's very like, what's going on there?
Yeah, well, what are you up to?
But they're kind of prepping us with the whole deep fake shit so that when it comes out, they can be like, no, this is deep fake.
That's interesting because it's funny. You would think that it would make it easier, right? But now that we have things like that, people are going to be just as easy to be able to get out of it because they're going to be able to say like, oh, that's CGI. Someone made that.
How are you going to prove it?
Yeah, right. I didn't really say that. Somebody
Isn't that
else.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, they have to try as best they can to keep up with the counter technology that can spot and identify with somebody manipulating images and manipulating videos. It's just like, that's like going to be a constant game that we're always going to lose.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about Netflix, and you were saying earlier, Netflix
declining.
What's going on?
Declining. They had the worst quarter they've had in 8 years since they've started. I think they lost like close to 250,000 subscribers or something like that. Now, two things they attribute that to. One, they increased their rates. So you saw that I think they went up another $3 or whatever. So that happened that last quarter. And then also the Netflix originals that came out. Just they didn't have any blockbuster hits. They just this quarter Stranger Things, the third one came out. The Orange is New Black, that other one. There's like three big ones that are coming out this quarter that they project that they'll rebound just fine. But I don't know.
Competition's heating up.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's getting really competitive. And to me, I don't know. I know you really like a lot of their Netflix original. I think it's hit and miss. I think they're spending a lot of money to get a couple hits. And so I
agree, because for every, I don't know, if it's 10 that they release, there's one that's good.
Right. And so you have to ask yourself, like, is that sustainable to invest that much just to get one hit? And I'm back onto just like maybe a couple months ago, I added the Showtime and HBO, and I tell you what, man, they've been doing their shit's fire.
They've had such a pedigree of writers.
Yes, dude. Their documentary, their movies, their stuff is all their original content is fucking fire.
Yeah,
dude.
it's really good.
it's competitive. And now I forgot who it was. I think was it Apple I told you guys about that was partnering with them that would offer, if you're doing Apple streaming service, then you would get HBO and Showtime for like a discounted rate. But I only pay, I think it's either $4.99 or $10.99 a month for Showtime and HBO. Mm-hmm. And I find myself on as much or more on those two than I do even Netflix.
Mm-hmm. It's look, they were the only show around for a while for that whole streaming, monthly type service type deal. It's a competition. This is, of course, it's going to happen, and that's why I'm not worried about anybody dominating the market and taking it all up. And we need to be careful. No, I'm not worried at all. They'll crush for a while, whatever company comes out first. Then other companies enter into the fray and compete. And they got to keep evolving if they're going to last.
I wonder if the model is like, I would think like you keep a really low, like, $2.99 or $3.99 to have the app, and then you do a la carte. 99 cents a show or something like that. If you love Stranger Things and it only costs you, I wonder if someone will figure that out, do something like that, keep it to where you can undercut everybody, right? Because where it's going to get crazy is when you start getting all these are starting to cost $12.99 to $20.99. Before you know it, now you're back up over what cable was, right?
If you have a la carte, what'll end up happening, I do think it's going to get that way. I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to be a la carte. And what a la carte will encourage is writers. It'll encourage content creators to release their own product and make money off
really
of it.
Grab our attention.
You
really have to do a good job at that.
Now, the platform may be like a YouTube where it hosts and people create their own thing, but then you pay more to I don't know, but I think it'll be a la carte. I
also wonder if Google/YouTube is going to make a major power move in the next decade or less than the decade, right? Because they've got the attention of a ton of people, and they are the most brilliant because they are using our content that we put all the money, the time, and the effort in to the platform. They don't pay nobody.
Yeah, I wonder how their YouTube TV's doing because, I definitely got sucked into the whole Cobra Kai series. Loved it. There's 2 seasons of that, but that's it. That's all I'd even know.
I really think what you see with them doing with things like that is really just kind of testing. That's just them kind of like putting their toe in the water just to feel it out. And
that show killed it. It was great.
See what they got. And because at the end of the day, again, they're probably the most profitable when you talk about all these streaming services because they're rely on us to put the content out there. It doesn't cost them any money to do that.
Where Netflix kills it, and so does YouTube as kids. Netflix kills it with kids. They have a lot of content focused on, but Disney's going to be doing their own thing, and it's gonna murder them.
Yeah.
YouTube, the child market or the kid market on YouTube
crushes.
No videos got more views than the one.
All you gotta say is Baby Shark. It's like what doesn't even make sense.
All the stuff for kids that gets views destroys all the stuff that's dedicated. Now the thing is that how valuable is it in terms of how you can market to them, but they kill it. YouTube
it's the long game. Are you kidding me?
You're right. You capture them early.
Yeah, you capture them early to a channel that they love, and you get them at 5, and you got them all the way till 15. You don't get them to buy one thing. You get them to buy shit for the rest of their lives.
I'm so curious at some of these channels, because I've watched some of these YouTube channels with my kids, and one of them was like these 2 twin boys that they basically try out these Nerf guns and then they have battles with them and stuff. And all they do is just shoot each other with them, talk about it. And then and then they start adding more graphics as they've gotten more popular and stuff with it. And they have all these wars, but it's like, how are they going to grow up? They have like all these toys now, like all over their house. Like it's just, there's so much there. It's like
fame and popularity is very damaging to children. I 100% believe in that. That's one of the main reasons why I'm very careful and protective of my kids, because imagine being a kid and having all these followers, all these people. Look at us right now. Our Mind Pump's very public. We have we've had millions of people listen to us. Imagine if you were a young kid with people saying oh my God, I love you guys, I love this, whatever. You just develop a very distorted view of the world and a sense of ego, and that is a long fall. That is a very long fall when you're a kid and you grow up that way. So I think it's a terrible.
Well, remember that show, like where are they now? All the like TV stars that were kids.
Oh, they're all fucked up.
Like almost all of them.
Always.
I feel like that
80 or 90% of them are like really
it's going to be
fucked up.
so interesting to have a show just like that, but with YouTube stars and YouTube kids. And like, I wonder like how messed up.
It'll be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It'll be the same thing. It's just, it's too, you peak way too early. Like you said.
It's not even just about peaking. It's part of that. But the other part of it is just, again, imagine if you're a kid and imagine if you're a parent of a kid and your kid has millions of followers and you're just their parent. Yeah. They think that of them, their sense of self becomes so bloated and distorted.
So distorted.
So terrible, you know?
They'll go anywhere and they just get stuff, you know? It's bizarre.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like the little prince that, you know, that grows up in the kingdom and everybody has to obey the prince and whatever and don't piss him off. And they end up becoming a tyrannical, terrible leader every single time.
King Joffrey, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that I can reference things with you now.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
That fucking weirdo. Hey, more annoying news. Berkeley. Here's how you know your tax dollars are wasted. The Berkeley government, city council, all got together, worked together, and all spent hours and time and taxpayer dollars deciding to change the name of manholes to maintenance holes.
What?
Yeah, they want it to be because it has man in it.
It's too masculine.
Yeah, they wanted it gender neutral. So they this is the part that annoys me. If you're offended that something's called a manhole, fine, you can be offended. But that's my tax dollars. Like if I lived in Berkeley, I'd be fucking pissed that you wasted time.
Why the hell are you concerned about that?
Yeah, why are you wasting time in city council talking about and legislate? That's like I don't know how many thousands of dollars.
These people and put their asses to work.
Oh,
like they need to do hard, laborious things.
Yeah, is Berkeley a city where like everything's so perfect that they're sitting around like we need to figure out what to do with this?
Yeah.
These tax dollars. Everything's so perfect. Yeah. Let's start focusing on other shit. You know?
Oh my god!
Get the fuck out of here with that.
This is out of control.
Oh, my head's gonna explode.
This quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
First question is from VMA Mr. Black. Can you activate a muscle by flexing it before compound lifts?
That is the idea behind priming. Now, here's the problem with just flexing a muscle before a lift. If you have a poor connection to a muscle, you have issues activating it, it's harder to flex a muscle without any type of opposing resistance than it is to activate it with some kind of a priming movement or opposing resistance. Like you tell somebody with a poor connection to the glutes while they're standing relaxed, hey, flex your glutes. You know, have fun. Like, good luck.
I've tried it at a party once. Didn't go well.
Yeah. When you flex your glutes, boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
That is a party.
Yeah, flexing a muscle is before a lift is what activates it.
Well, that's what resistance training is. Flexion of the muscles with resistance. That's what resistance training is all you're doing is you're flexing your muscles with adding resistance, whether it be body weight bands or dumbbells or barbells. That's exactly what it is. And it's also why some people struggle with developing a muscles because they're not good at flexing it. And that's it's actually one of the things I really enjoyed about like bodybuilding and that aspect of it is it really hones in that skill to be able to activate all these little muscles on your body. And then if you have the ability to do this is what's really cool too, is if you can flex isolate a muscle or get close to isolating a muscle, and then you go into a lift, you can actually change the exercise, right? You can take an exercise that maybe that was designed for your rhomboids, and then it becomes more of a rear delt because just by you being able to focus on using that muscle and making that muscle take over the movement. Now, if people do this on accident all the time with things like squats, where they're so anteriorly driven that they end up feeling it in their quads, and it takes over the lift when they should be feeling their glutes. But part of why they don't feel it in their glutes very well is because they can't flex, to like Sal's point, they can't flex their glutes well.
That's right. And so now here's the thing. There's a little bit of controversy around priming. Like, does it really increase activation of a particular muscle. Now, if you took somebody who had no problems feeling a muscle working, and then they did priming before, and then they, let's say that they had no issues with their chest activating. They have well-developed chest. It's very balanced. They feel it. And you had them doing chest priming movements and then go bench press. Is it going to change the activation of the chest? Probably not. The reason why priming helps people activate muscles is mainly because it helps people who normally can't feel that muscle feel it. Mm-hmm. Then when they do the lift, they know where they need to feel the lift, and they can change the focus. So if I, doing hip thrusts, body weight hip thrusts, for example, a very classic, basic way of priming the glutes before a squat would be to do a body weight, maybe banded hip thrust, floor bridge or whatever. Get the glutes to fire, then go do your squats. Is it going to make the glutes work more when doing squats? Yes, but not because it's anything magical about the floor bridge. It's because the person who did the floor bridge, who really felt the glutes squeezing, now when they go squat, they know where to feel it. Because it's an internal thing, isn't it? I mean, as a trainer, one of the techniques I would often do,
touch a muscle on some.
That's right.
Right. That's not necessary. When I touch your glutes, it doesn't make more neurons fire there, but it gets you thinking about that muscle.
It's an external stimulus. It's something that you actually feel and you respond to as a result. And if you can, the key is to really be able to intrinsically be able to do that yourself and really navigate your way towards that. So
is there really debate around this?
Yes, because there's studies that'll show priming the quads before a lift doesn't cause more quad activation, or priming the glutes.
And what do they use? A whatchamacallit machine?
They're probably using somebody that has no
activation.
issues. They're probably using an experienced lifter who has no issues. But when I'm training a client that they don't feel it. Like, I don't feel it in my lats. I feel it in my biceps.
Which is extremely common.
Yes. Getting them to activate their lats with for example, another basic one would be like a straight arm rope pull down and get them to squeeze their lats. Now when you do the pull down, now you know where you need to feel it. Mm-hmm. Now you can change the technique a little bit in your mind. In fact, watching them, you might not even be able to tell sometimes. Most of the time you can, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you watch somebody it looks the same, but the person is able to connect more to the muscle that they're trying to focus on. And so that's what the priming does. That's what activating it does before. And again, as a trainer, I used to do this all the time. Now, the way I would do it was either priming them, or I would touch the muscle while they're trying to work it. Like, you need to feel it right here, and I put my finger on it. And if you can think of that right now, like next time you go work out, have your gym partner or whatever put their finger on the muscle you're trying to feel, and then while they're doing that, now try to connect to that muscle now that you have the external stimulus, and watch what happens.
It's funny. I used to, even when we're talking about compound, doing just a squat, I used to nudge some of my friends when they're down in a squat, warming up, and to see if it would knock them off balance, or if they would, have proper stabilization, from lateral forces.
What a dick.
Yeah.
You did that to your friends?
Sometimes I'd topple them over.
That's why I didn't work out with Justin.
But it does. It shows you how you respond.
Yeah.
It's another external stimulus where it's okay, I got to make sure everything's working.
Now, flexing, just standing there and flexing, theoretically would be a great way to do this. But again, the problem is, if I'm sitting here, let's say I have a poor connection to my lats. I'm like, man, I do lat pull downs, I do pull-ups, I do rows, and I just don't feel my lats at all. I feel it all in my traps or my arms or whatever. And you tell me, okay, Sal, before you do a pull down, flex your lats really hard. I'm going to look at you I don't know how to do that. Obviously, I can't connect to my lats. I can't flex them. Now, if you give me a band and tie it over a pull-up bar, and I do a straight arm pull down where I'm really trying to squeeze the lats, now because I have resistance, now I can start to connect more to the lats. This is why flexing before a lift to activate a muscle isn't great for anybody aside from people who already have a good connection. So if you're a bodybuilder and you want to feel these muscles work more and you already have a good connection, flexing beforehand is great.
Right, great body.
Absolutely great. And now Arnold and bodybuilders of that era actually placed a lot of emphasis on flexing. They would actually pose. In fact, that was part of Arnold's pre-contest workout. At the end of his workouts, weeks before a competition, when he's trying to get lean and be able, feel the muscles flex and build definition, he would pose at the end of his workout sessions, and he always said how it brought out more definition in his muscles. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true. It does burn more calories and all that stuff. But besides from that, I think it brought out more definition because, and Adam can attest to this, he competed. If you can flex some muscle better, and you know, in a way that to make it appear better, it's going to look better on stage, isn't it?
100%.
So flexing would help with that.
Right.
Next question is from Like a Stranger. Can you expound upon the difference in stimuli physically and cognitively between open chain and closed chain exercises? What are the pros and cons of each, and should you stick to one or the other during a workout?
Yeah, this is a great, really, really good question. And we've been talking about this a little bit this month because Maps Anywhere is on sale. And that's our program that doesn't use equipment. So a lot of the exercises in there are what are known as closed chain movements. Closed chain movement. So I'll give you an example of an open chain and a closed chain movement that are very similar. A push-up is a closed chain chest movement. A bench press would be an open chain chest movement. Now the movement is similar, right? I'm pushing, I'm pressing out. Now with an open chain one, it's my hands that are pressing the weight out.
Right.
With a closed chain,
you're
it's
resisting the load versus going like you're using your body against gravitational
right.
forces.
So open chain is your hands or your feet are the things that are moving. Closed chain is it's your body that's moving. And are there differences in them? Well, yeah, absolutely. Closed chain movements. Look, if you want body awareness, it's superior, just hands down. Like if you take a gymnast and you compare them to a weightlifter, I don't care how functional the weightlifter is, the gymnast, in terms of body awareness, knowing where their body is
control,
in space, body control, balancing on their hands, pulling, climbing over things, jumping over things. If you were to do things like parkour or wrestle or whatever, the gymnast is going to have an advantage, all things being equal.
Well, many camps would say that this is where most people should start. There's a lot of people that would say that, before you even pick up a barbell or a dumbbell or do any sort of open chain movements, that you should get good at your closed chain movements first, because once you have that good body control and awareness, that carries over into having good mechanics when you start doing open chain movements.
Well, I subscribe to that too, because it's a very crucial part of programming to be able to teach your joints to feel supported. When you can go all the way through and get them to function properly, but also have your body feel like everything is your bracing is on point. I can make sure that this force is distributed properly. So now I can actually apply more force. I can get more intense. And I feel like we skip a lot of those steps when we jump into the open chain movements.
Right. Now, some of the benefits of open chain movements, in my opinion, they're superior for maximal muscle building. The angles that you can use, maybe there's more variety. There's a lot more novelty with the different types of exercises. If you're a bodybuilder, obviously, most of your workouts are going to be open chain. But, here's what I'll say about both of these. Whichever one you do a lot of, there's a lot of value. I don't care what your goals are.
Oh, they both belong in your
switching.
training.
Yeah, and they both belong.
They really do. No matter what your goal is, I really believe they both do. Whether it be a bodybuilder, because to your point, yes, for bodybuilding, open chain makes more sense most of the time. But there's still a tremendous amount of value of doing closed chain.
Well, the limiting factor with the open chain and bodybuilding becomes how big you are, right? It's hard to see a 250-pound bodybuilder do all these closed chain type movements. Closed chain experts tend to be muscular, but also have a body that they can manipulate, so they're not massive.
Well, I feel like if they kept that, on some level in their programming, they would have been able to maintain a level of flexibility and abilities, functional wise, that they didn't really focus on otherwise. If they eliminate it completely out of their programming, then they're not going to be able to have that type of range of motion anymore. Mm-hmm. It's going to limit their, it's going to prune its way out of their movement process.
Right. Now, squats and lunges, those are closed chain movements. Your feet aren't going anywhere. And those are great massive muscle builders, right? Those are some of the best around. I honestly, look, this falls under the, category of if you're not doing it, then doing it, you're going to start to see great results.
Right.
Regardless of what your goals are. If your goal is burn body fat, build muscle, and you do almost no, body weight, closed chain type movements, What do you think is going to happen if you all of a sudden incorporate them or do them exclusively, even just for a couple weeks? Your body's going to respond. It really is.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen with friends of mine who were, they were into bodybuilding. They were into just building their body aesthetically, and then watch them devote 3 weeks to working on like rings and bars and stuff like that, and watch their shoulders. And I see a lot of great shoulder development coming from some of these closed chain movements, especially the ring movements. Some of my favorite exercises like this pull-ups and dips. Great exercises.
Well, you see a lot more rotation and a lot more work in that direction. Open chain movements, it's kind of tough to really add those elements as much as doing things with body weight.
Yeah, isolation movements are superior open chain, right? Like it's hard to do a lateral, close chain.
Oh yeah, totally.
Or a bicep curl.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Or something like that.
I've seen
You've seen people do that.
Yeah, you do it like a side plank move. I've actually seen people do some. Yeah. I'll
But boy, you got to be strong.
Super creative.
You have to be really strong to do that.
No, you do. You do, absolutely.
Some of the most impressive physiques and people I've ever met were people that trained mostly body weight. I'm being very honest.
Well, you talk about the another major pro is just the lower risk when you talk about joint pain and just way less risk for injury too. You're definitely increasing the risk by doing open chin loading a barbell versus doing body weight movements. Like,
I think it depends how you apply it, right? Because like you do handstand push-ups, and that's a very high risk exercise versus a light dumbbell overhead press or whatever. It really depends on the movement and how you're doing it.
Yeah, but somebody's not going to progress to a handstand push-up before they can even do a handstand. Like
right.
So you would already have good shoulder stability before you would even consider doing a press in that position. So I don't the same 75-year-old lady that you would grab 5-pound dumbbells and do a shoulder press with, you couldn't even put it into a handstand position. So if you can get into that position, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like really risky body weight positions that you could potentially.
Well, what's interesting about that too, in like when you're in sort of like that position when you're in a handstand, there's just so many factors of what has to work in order to stabilize that movement.
Right.
Versus a shoulder press is not even going to compare to that because of how many intricate pieces have to stabilize your body and keep everything tight and from swaying.
Well, here's the other thing too that you might want to consider. Modern life, you're going to need the skill in terms of longevity. You're going to need the skill of moving your body around more than you'll need the skill of moving objects around. Right. I think so. Having body awareness, especially as you get older, I think it becomes much more important because you're not. I mean, what's the heaviest object? Be honest, right? What's the heaviest object you move on a regular basis in modern times? It's yourself. How often are you lifting heavy things and moving around? If you don't go to the gym, it's almost never. So being able to move your body and proprioception is something that's super undervalued. Proprioception is knowing where your body is in space, being able to turn and step and not twist your ankle or hurt your hip. Or, being able to fall in a way that doesn't break something,
Just those little micro adjustments that you need to avoid injury. That's such an important piece to the whole training process.
Next question is from Gia Kelsey. Is it normal for all my joints to hurt after I lift? I know there should be inflammation with my muscles and possibly my joints, but I feel it mainly in my joints the day after, specifically my knees and shoulders. Could it be due to years of running track as a teen?
Yeah. No, it's not normal for your joints, or at least it's to say it's not a good thing for your joints to hurt after you work out. Muscles, that's a totally different story. But if your joints are hurting you after you work out, you either are not moving properly, so your form is off, you don't have good connection, or you're overdoing it. But the joints... Here's the thing with your joints. Joints build and get stronger very slowly. So the goal is not to challenge your joints and make them sore like you would with your muscles. Not at all. The other thing too is you may just have a lot of inflammation in your body, in which case you still need to reduce the intensity of your workouts. I mean, how did you guys handle that with clients? Would they come back to you and be like, okay, my knee gets a little sore after we hit legs? Or whatever. Well,
you have to address their mechanics. I mean, when you get and knee is common, like you hear this. In fact, I just answered a DM the other day. somebody saying this to me. And normally it's a limiting factor. If it's the knee that's bothering you, it's probably a limiting factor in ankle mobility or hip mobility. And then what ends up happening is the knee gets stressed. If you have great range of motion and great mobility, then the muscle should carry the load the entire way through, up and down. And so it's a great indicator that there's something there to be worked on. And I think we just overlook it. I think people it's just part of it. Or people avoid exercises. I don't know which is worse, to just say, oh, wow, I can't squat because it hurts my knees, or to address it and work towards it. I mean, you know that you got issues. This is why we created Prime Pro. Is we went through every major joint in the body, and if you're having issues like that, then address mobility of them and work towards it. And you should get to a place where it won't. But it absolutely, running track for many, many years could definitely have made this worse. But it doesn't mean it can't be fixed. It absolutely can be
Well, I've
fixed.
had this issue with multiple clients, and one of them particularly, like, we used to be a dancer, and so like this external rotation process to everything. I couldn't get her to maintain, her toes to point straight, and in a squat, in a hip hinging movement, in anything, like everything always turned out. And so the knees, as a result, trying to overcompensate for that process, like, took a lot of the brunt of that. And so it's just about mechanically, we got to address this. We got to address this on multiple levels, ankles and hips. And I'm constantly watching her gait as she walks, and like seeing where she applies pressure, and and pronating, not pronating, and like we're breaking down, like, mechanically what's happening in her feet and in her hips. And it's a slow process, but like as you start to really kind of work on these really these small things that seem like it's not going to make a big difference, it made a huge difference, because now we have something that's more stable, and I can actually do a squat without this external rotation being involved.
Yeah, you need to find a way to work out that doesn't cause joint pain afterwards. And then you need to figure out a way to correct your movement so that you can work out the way you were working out before, but then without pain. So in other words, if barbell squatting, every time I barbell squat, like I hear on Mind Pump, it's such a great exercise. And every time I barbell squat, though, my knees hurt for a couple days. Now, what I don't want to do is say, oh, well, okay, whatever, I just have chronic knee pain. It goes away after a couple of days, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Right.
No.
Or completely stop squatting.
No, right. What you need to do is maybe squat in a way that doesn't hurt. And if that means you have to stop squatting for a second, that's fine. But work on movements, correctional exercises to get you to the point where you can squat again without causing this kind of pain, without causing this kind of knee pain. I remember, and what you said something interesting, Adam, about people who are like, oh, that's just my knee, or that they accept it like, oh yeah, my shoulder just hurts after I lift or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That chronic pain that keeps popping up, you got to pay attention to it and figure out the root cause of it, because over time that chronic pain can only get worse. It's if you don't address the root cause of why it's hurting, it will only get worse. It will not get better with age. It's not going to, and even if you think to yourself, like, I'm just going to rest it. Yeah. I'm not going to do anything. Well, now you're going to atrophy, lose muscle, which will then do what? Make it worse.
Yeah, or you overcompensate. So you work your way through it by like avoiding that specific movement, but now you've built up these new patterns that are going to lead you in a whole nother like can of worms that you're going to have to deal with.
Next question is from ebraga06. What are your thoughts on Peloton and other streaming at-home workouts? How long before VR-compatible treadmills and rowers?
I think this whole market is really cool and fascinating. It totally does not appeal to me. It's hard enough to work out at home, to put a pair of goggles on so I could pretend like I'm in a room full of other people, and it just is not me at all. I mean, for me, training is this thing that I like to be inside of a gym and in my own space and headphones and music and thinking about my body. Like, I don't need visual stimulation to get me more involved in this exercise program or workout. But I do find it really cool. I think it's pretty dope that you could get on a bike and race somebody in Europe and in Florida and all over the place and be able to see them and engage in the class type of setting. But I'm more curious than I have like an opinion on if it's going to last. I mean, Peloton is crushing it. I mean, they're absolutely killing it right now. So it's obviously I remember I brought that article up on the last live events. They were comparing Peloton to what's the big one? Cycle Bar, right? Is it Cycle?
Soul Cycle.
Soul Cycle. They were comparing the two of them, the pros and cons of each. And when you just talk about convenience, affordability, the fact that once you set your Peloton bike up, it's to you now forever. So you take a class, you got to come in, you got to adjust the bike all the time because somebody else just rode it the class before. And that's kind of a pain in the ass. If you want to only do it for 20 minutes, they're all hour-long classes, so you can't just get off the bike because it's not in your home. So I think it allows for things like that. I think it would be neat for me to hop on there and ride for 20 minutes because I have 20 minutes that day, then get off and then walk away from it. So I think these things are neat. I don't know if it will be more trendy because I'm curious to the type of person that gravitates. So it's the same.
Yeah, I used to think there was like this massive progression in that direction. I was thinking, wow, everything is going to be virtual and everything is going to be like a game and be super exciting. It's all about the experience of it and all that. I think that there's initial appeal to that because it definitely feeds with like society in terms of us being addicted to our phones and having this constant community access. Whereas now I kind of see there might be this counter movement in terms of being like overwhelmed with just too much electronic and like I always have to be around people and all that kind of stuff versus like just doing something for myself and getting back to. I think there's a lot more like romance into going back into the gym and just like being there with iron.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I think a mistake that I make a lot of times is I apply myself into it. So I say, oh, I wouldn't like it or I would like it.
Right. I'm with you on that. That's why
And the problem with that is that I'm a fitness fanatic. Like I grew up in the gym. I literally had my first gym membership as old, I think it was 15. And then from 15 on, I was in the gym no less than 3 days a week. And then after the age of 18, every single day almost, right? And I think to myself, like, what prevents the average person from going to a gym and working out? And you know what? One of the number one things that prevents people is the intimidation factor. And to me, it sounds strange because I feel at home in any gym. I walk into a gym and I just feel at home. The sounds, the smells, the people, this whatever. Yeah. It's just like it's like it's super familiar. But to the average person, to the average American who,
that's not at all.
Maybe they played sports in high school and they got old and they went to college, they graduated, they had a couple kids, and now they're like, oh God, I'm 35 years old and I need to start losing weight. And then they walk into a gym for the first time, or maybe they've been in a couple times, but they never really spent a lot of time in there. It is an intimidating place. That's the first thing that I hear to people's mouths is that gyms can be intimidating. And it's not that they're scared. It's just, it reminds me of like the first time I went to judo or jiu-jitsu. I remember walking in for the first time, seeing people do all these moves. And it was such an unfamiliar place for me that I had to get over that intimidation of that newness with all these people who are going to see me suck. Mm-hmm. They're going to see me not know what I'm fucking doing. I'm going to have to ask stupid questions. So for most people to get started, to walk into a gym, then go into a class with an instructor, not know how to use the fucking bike, ask the question. A lot of people don't do it because of that. But something like this, where you're in your living room, you go in virtually, maybe they don't even see who you are. Maybe it's just an avatar of you, or you just see avatars of other people. Well, now I could see that getting people in there.
Now I think it would be cool. I mean, I get it from a group perspective. Like people that are really into that group experience, like it's cool because you have like you could see the instructor. There's like there's all these pop-ups with all these other people doing it at the same time, so it gives that kind of like live feel to it. But in terms of like what I would like to see, like personally, would be more of like a PRX kind of a setup where it's something like that, where you actually have like legit weight setup, but now you have a coach that's just, on the screen and can kind of coach you along as you're doing it.
Sure.
Right. Because don't you see that, to your point, Sal, the person that you're describing, that avatar, like what do you see? Like what I see right away then as a problem is I know that person needs to be weight training and they don't need to be getting on a bike and pedaling and racing people. And so what I see is maybe shredding a few pounds initially, why it's cool and it's awesome and it's a new thing in your living room, and then it ends up being
not the right answer.
Place to hang your laundry.
It's not the right answer. Like for example, Curves in the late 90s, early 2000s was this little gym model where it was a small facility, pneumatic equipment done in a circle. It was women only, super accepting, and it got a lot of self-conscious women to finally step into a quote-unquote gym and work out. Now, the problem with that is it wasn't the right solution. It wasn't the right workout. And so, of course, it was flash in the pan. It blew up, and then it fizzled out. I think that this has a lot of potential to blow up, but I don't see a lot of potential for staying power unless they actually apply the right things when it comes to exercise, which we talk about all the time. But still, if you think about it, how many people are intimidated to go work out because they just don't feel comfortable in a gym with all these
majority.
people? Right.
Yeah.
And so now they can do something like Peloton or a VR treadmill or rower. They can get in there. They're still working out with people, but you don't see me. I don't fucking feel whatever. I'm in my living room. I'm comfortable.
See, so I always want, this is part of our debate that we have with group training though. Like the question that I have, or the challenge that I have is that a better thing? Because
is it better?
Right, because
it'll make a lot of money.
Right, because the argument is like, hey, it gets, and this we had this at our last live event where you debated me a little bit over the group training. That it's like, hey, if it's something that starts someone, and we've had people in our forum that debate me on this too, and I totally get that there's always exceptions to the rule, right? So if there's somebody who's like, hey, I found Mind Pump and I started because I got into a group training class and I'm here and I would have never got started if it wasn't for that. So I get that. But the question is, are you the minority, and does it end up fucking more people? Do more people do it, bust their ass, and end up, making it worse for themselves because they see these initial results and they never see it again, and they end up slowing their metabolism down, end up putting more weight on, and it just discourages them more that, fuck that, I don't want to do this whole fitness thing. It's easier for me to just, eat what I want and just accept being fat. Like, so I would challenge with that is like, is it really a good thing? Just like the group training argument that I make is like, I would love to have a Peloton because I also would use it judiciously. It'd be a cool thing that every once in a while I talk shit to you guys on the phone, like, hey, let's get on the Peloton, let's race tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we have fun with it. And I think there's people that are listening that may have that same experience with it, and it could be an awesome thing. But the person, the majority, the reason why it'll make millions, if not billions of dollars is for what you said, Sal, is that a majority of the people that will actually go use it are the ones that are intimidated to lift weights, intimidated to go inside the gym. And so they're in their room or in their house doing this, not knowing that they're probably not doing, not only not the best thing for them, but probably potentially one of the worst things for them, aside from sitting on the couch and eating Cheetos.
That's the thing. It's better than nothing, but it might open the door for what Justin said, which is like VR resistance training, which would be phenomenal. VR resistance training would be so much better. It wouldn't be better than a trainer, of course, in-person personal trainer.
Unless it was one of us.
Right. But it would but VR would be fucking awesome. But think about it this way, like, as soon as you start to eliminate barriers between people and what they want to do, boy, does it start to take off. Like a good example would be pornography. Like the barrier used to be, if you wanted a dirty movie or dirty magazine, you had to go to the fucking store and be embarrassed. Yeah. Or you had to go to the rental store and walk in the back room.
With the shame.
Yeah, you had to go to the back room.
Get the ultimate payout
with all the dirty movies and come out and everybody knows you're going to.
And it was still $1 billion industry.
And fight your way through those crazy beads.
Yeah. Or you have to go. I remember when.
I'm getting this.
I remember when I legally bought my first, dirty magazine. I turned 18. I was like, oh fuck. But then I'm like, oh my god, I got to go to the store and buy this shit. People are going to see me. Yeah. There's that barrier, right? But then they eliminated the barrier. Now you can do it at home, and all of a sudden, everybody now looks at porn. I think stuff like this is going to really expand the fitness market beyond what gyms could ever do because it gets rid of that barrier of intimidation.
It definitely is a bigger conversation because I always think, like we're still talking into this like little tiny bubble. Like as many people as we think are listening, I think that there's just so many people at like your Comic-Cons and like, these video game conventions, and like I am just like amazed at how many people are just like sitting on their ass and like just absorbing like electronics. Yeah. It's crazy to me, and I'm passionate about wanting to like be like, hey, you can have fun with that, but like move, like don't forget to move.
Yeah, what they're trying to do now is new cities that are getting designed are starting to get designed with obesity in mind. And so what you're starting to see with these cities are they're designing them to be where it's more convenient to walk than to drive, and they have the neighborhood stores and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think that's the only solution. I'm going to be quite honest with you right now. I think the only solution to activity in the modern world is to start designing cities so that becomes convenient, because we designed the suburbs, and it was like if you had to get anywhere, you had to drive because it was 5 miles away. And so everybody stopped moving. And when you look at people that live in old cities like San Francisco, New York City, Paris, Rome, the average person gets, I don't know, probably 2 to 3 times as many steps every day.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go to the grocery store, it makes no sense to drive.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was in Europe and I was going, through like Scotland, Ireland, everything. It was like, dude, we were walking like everywhere. It's like,
Totally.
We could totally have gotten a taxi or whatever, but it was just like, nah, it's right, it's a couple miles.
And my brother lives in San Francisco, and he's a big car guy. Loves cars, loves fast cars, cool cars. He's a very successful dude. Sold his car. He sold it, and he's like, I don't know why. I don't want a car here. It makes no sense. So now he walks and bikes everywhere. And I think that will be the only permanent solution. But anyway, nonetheless, you eliminate that barrier of intimidation that gyms have been dealing with for decades. Like, that's been the big problem with gyms. How do we get people to stop being scared of us?
Well, that's why Planet Fitness is blown up.
100%. That's one of the reasons why Planet's like the no judgment zone. Why do you think they're fucking crushing? Right. Is that whole it's not scary here, 100%. Whatever. Anyway, look, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can download all of our guides, fitness and nutrition guides, for free. You can also find us all on Instagram. You can find me at MindPumpSal, Justin at MindPumpJustin, and Adam at MindPumpAdam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.